Welcome to the Sykes & Company PA video blog.
Most legal advisors will advise millennial pharmacists, who are typically the ones buying these assets, to not buy an existing entity, but to buy the assets only and set up a separate entity to purchase those assets in. And certainly that is, frankly, the way that most transactions in the pharmacy industry occur, in that the asset purchase is much cleaner, it's much easier, it's much more definitive in that you are defining exactly which assets that you are buying. You're specifying what prices that you'll pay for those assets. You're not assuming any liabilities, both known or unknown, including PBM audits or past income tax audits in that arrangement if you're a buyer. That said, if you're a buyer, you have to set up your own new entity, get a federal ID number, get a DEA number, MPI number, and NCPDP number, and get all your third-party contracts. And that sometimes can take anywhere from a few months to a few years. So therein lies a potential issue, is that depending on the state that you're in, depending on the board of pharmacy that you're operating with under, different states, different boards of pharmacy will handle the administrative regulatory parts in different manners. But from a pure tax perspective, obviously it's a very clean way to purchase an entity and to be able to amortize those assets that you're buying, and or depreciating those assets that you're buying, if they're including fixed assets, which in a lot of cases that they are. In fact, you need to designate typically the furniture, fixtures, equipment from any land and equipment, from land and building. And obviously, goodwill script value is the item that ends up being the larger of any of those, notwithstanding in inventory, which is typically stated. But those are typically the assets that are bought in a pharmacy transaction. So setting up the entity, getting your approvals going. Obviously, if you're buying assets, you're buying an existing pharmacy, you'll have to get a power of attorney from the seller to be able to adjudicate claims, so there'll be no delay in a process. Again, assuming you're buying existing assets in a pharmacy that's operational. You also need to make sure that other things are taken care of in that power of attorney, including the weekly reconciliation of third-party claims, because again, the monies that from day one that you start this entity and buy these assets, you'll be adjudicating your claims under the seller's numbers, seller's contracts, keeping in mind that those funds will be coming back to the seller in his or her bank account, and that those funds you need to pay your wholesalers pretty quickly, and therefore you need that weekly reconciliation to take place, because in the first couple of months or so there's going to be a mixing of the seller's funds coming in and your funds coming in, and you have to take the 835s and match up the claims to make sure you're getting the right funds. So there's a whole host of issues that you have to consider during the course of this that are very critical to a successful asset purchase transaction.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel.